Welcome to Grand Rock Warehouse, and tonight I want to welcome DC Toontime back to the show. Tonight we are looking at the Zombies. We're doing our top 10 favorite tracks. We want to hear from you in the chat. Let's get started.
Grant is changing the world one track at a time on Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Welcome to Grand Rock Warehouse, and tonight we are talking about the band The Zombies. DC Toontime's here, ladies and gentlemen. You may know his work.
Hello, folks.
There he is. Eric's supposed to be here. Eric Hansen, he's not here yet, but I thought, damn it, I just did the Slade show with the Parish of Rock, and I'm ready to rap. I'm ready to keep going.
When you got a good head of steam going, man, you just got to keep on going.
Eric gets here, we'll just fit him in. I'm sure it'll be fine. The Warehouse, you can't stop production, ladies and gentlemen.
No. Sometimes you hand the baton off to someone. Sometimes they're not there to have the baton handed to. You just got to keep on going, folks.
But we got DC here, and we're going to talk the Zombies. So the Zombies, if you're not familiar with them, they really kind of were a failed UK band back in the day. They really didn't sell any records in the UK. They barely had any hits. They actually probably were more successful here in the States, but they were born. They were born. They were formed in 1961.
Born is formed.
Original lineup included Rod Argent, vocals, keyboards. You know that Rod went on to form the band Argent. Hold your head up, folks. Colin Bloomstone, which absolutely wonderful vocals. We'll get into that. Yeah. Paul Atkinson, guitar. Chris White, bass, who also went on to Argent. And Hugh Grundley on drums. Very unique sound, I'd say. Very melodic. Pop, you might even say that there's a little bit of jazz sprinkled on top.
A little bit of everything. Blue-eyed soul, psychedelia. It was a very interesting mix. And if you look at this time period, they are one of the few rock bands of that era where I would say the keyboards were prominent. 100%. Guitar is really not prominent at all. In fact, there's very few of their tunes that even feature guitar up front. I mean, we must note the bass playing of Mr. White, though.
Mr. White's a good bass player.
Oh, is he good? And it just brings it all together in that band. The bass playing plays a larger role than the guitar does easily on these tunes, but it is Argent and Blumstone's showcase. It's the keys and his songwriting, and Colin is really one of the all-time greats and still sounds good. Mm-hmm. To this day. He still got it. Now, unfortunately, Rod Argent had a stroke last summer, and he's done as far as a performer and everything. But
I didn't realize he had a stroke.
Yeah, they did.
How did I miss that?
They did a farewell concert with the remaining members of the band, minus Rod, this past winter.
I remember them going out.
Yeah, but he's retired, and I'm sure Colin will continue to record here and there and perform. But Rod Argent, he's done. It's a lot of your heroes and everything are succumbing to age and all what that entails on the health front.
Nothing like going on with an uplifting.
It's always that way with me, folks.
He's always bringing the show down, everybody.
What did I led off the 1990 show with my first pick being Jill Sobule, who had tragically died in a fire the week before. That's life.
Always
folks.
Doom and gloom with DC.
Yeah, but we salute all these people that have enriched our lives so much with their musical talents over the years, and we do our little part to recognize them on these shows.
So just to give you a little bit more of a brief intro again, their breakthrough single was in 1964, She's Not There. Climbed to number 12 on the UK charts. It got to number 2 on the Billboard charts here. See, they were always more successful here. And then that was followed by the track Tell Her No, 1965. But they faced a lot of challenges. They didn't I just don't know why they never really took off in the UK because it's just fabulous stuff. But 1967, they did record their landmark album, Odyssey and Oracle, and they recorded that at Abbey Road, released in 68. I think they might have recorded that at the same time that Pepper, around the same time as Pepper and Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Those are all happening around the same time. But when
Mhm.
they recorded Odyssey, they knew they were going to break up. So it's kind of like their last hurrah.
Yeah, so let's
Um,
pull out all the stops. And they did. That album is a stone cold classic.
and that's the record that's got Time of the Season on it. So
Yes.
anyway, we're going to talk about our favorite tracks. It really was they only had a short lifespan. Um, so anyway, I think we can go again. Eric gets here, we're working men, but I think we'll go, I don't know. Well, let's just go back and forth.
The
What the
usual
hell?
3-3-4, or we
Want to
could
do
just go back and
3-3?
forth. We
Might be a
can.
quick
I
show,
mean,
but hey, a quick show's a good show.
it's not always bad.
It's not always bad. All right,
Act,
go ahead. Give me your 10, 9, and 8, and then I'll do mine.
okay. From my research, I guess over the period of time since their formation to now, they've done 7 albums as the Zombies. Colin has done many solo albums as
Yeah, do
well.
you have
And
any of those? Do you have any of his
yes, I
solos?
do.
I
Yeah.
don't.
And some of the songs that were on a Zombies album, he's done solo and vice versa. You
Okay.
know, one with the Zombies, he may recorded it first, sometimes solo recorded it first, and then on a later Zombies album, which there are some later ones. One in particular, very, very good. I'll just point that out right now. This one right here
Oh, yeah.
from
I remember when that came out.
2004.
Okay.
As far as I can see, tremendous. This is my second favorite album of theirs.
Oh,
But
dang. All right.
yeah, of the 7, that would be my second favorite. Um,
Do you have this, DC, before we go on?
no, I do not.
You do not have the box set?
Do not.
This came out, God, what year did this come out? You know, we're always trying to help people spend money. Can't tell you how much money I've spent today.
Oh,
This came out in, God, dang, can I read that? This was a UK box set. Of course, you know, the UK, a lot of these things, they don't tell you what year they came out. Okay. This came out, oh, for God's sakes. It
they're
doesn't,
being very cryptic with the date of release.
this came out on Big Beat
Mm-hmm.
a long time ago, but the sound quality on this is phenomenal.
Oh,
4 CD set. I mean, it covers uh the beginnings, it has singles, it has Odyssey and Oracle and the Lost album. We're going to see some of that Lost album on today. They have some BBC. They've got a lot of outtakes from the studio on here. So
no.
if you're a Zombies fan,
Did
this
not
is
did not know about, and you know those box sets, Grant.
yes,
If
go
you're
ahead.
asleep at the wheel,
Yes,
or they're released and you don't know about them, trying to get them a few years later, it can you talk about digging into the wallet.
we were
Very
in
pricey.
Florida on vacation several years ago, and I originally bought it when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And ladies and gentlemen, you know how life goes on. You can you'll buy something, and all of a sudden, maybe you're in college. I'm just using this as an example, and you need some money. You could sell
Mm-hmm.
plasma, or you could sell CDs or
Other
records.
bodily fluids.
How many times have I sold my CDs? Not all of them, but you know what I mean.
I
You would
hear
usually
you.
sell the ones you could get money out of.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I had this set originally, and then I found this. This was a sealed copy that I found at some record store.
I was gonna say, if you found that, that is a clean copy, and it was
It's
the fact
clean,
that it was sealed is
but
astounding to me.
it'd been sealed all this time, but the booklets popped out. This needs re-glued.
Mm.
You know, it was sealed, but it, you know,
Well, Grant, just give it to one of the guys in the back in the warehouse there.
I don't have anybody left. Everybody quit.
Oh,
I
it
haven't
was
seen Marlon in months.
Marlon, Denny.
You know, maybe Denny. He's a lifer. Anyway,
No, but those
so
box sets, if you don't jump on them when they're released, try and grab them when the light bulb moment you have and you
100%.
realize it's been released. Try and get those. They're going for hundreds of dollars.
But now, I just don't get rid of anything. But back in the day, man, I remember doing it several
Oh,
times, and then you have to
I,
rebuild.
I hear you. I've
You've
done
been
that
there.
more than a few times myself.
So anyway, I don't know what I was freaking talking about. Oh yeah, I was
We were
just trying
going
to
to
turn people onto this.
onto the box set.
Highly recommended. It sounds great, and it's a good selection. It covers damn near everything that you need, of the original band
Hmm.
up until, this came out
The
prior
first
to when.
breaking
Exactly.
point, and then
Anyway,
Colin did some solo stuff.
yeah.
But
So
they did
anyway,
reconvene. And
reconvene.
for me,
DC.
my top 10 will include a lot or a decent amount of the later stuff, but I cannot ignore when cobbling together a top 10, those hits back in the 60s, those initial releases, those singles are just, they sound so fresh even today to my ears. Of course, my ears aren't all that fresh.
Well,
What are you going to do? All right, let's get to my first three,
all
and I'll
right.
just go right from the get go.
Okay.
Time of the season, and all these tunes are written by Rod
Wait a minute. Are
Argent.
you going from? You're going from
No, no, no.
10.
I'm not going
What are you
how I
doing?
like them. I'm just listing 10. These I don't have them in any order
Okay.
as far as how I like. These are just my 10 favorites.
Fine. Perfect.
Rod Argent, my God, what a great team! And the fact that his ability to write this fantastic material and having a vocalist like Colin to interpret it, that's a great team
Well,
right there.
from a vocal standpoint, those breathy vocals that he has, I mean,
Mhm.
people always bring that up. But my God, I could listen to him sing. I need to pick up some of those solo records. I'm
Yeah,
sure they're out on CD. I just have never,
I got
haven't
a
got there
couple of
yet.
them. They're worth your while. Everything you love about his delivery, that laid back and
Well, why don't
cool
you just
vocal
start going through and
delivery
name some tracks? Because I bet there's going to be a lot of, you know,
overlap.
overlap, and I'll just tag
Okay,
team.
I'll just
So anyway, what do you want to
when we
start?
go. I'm going to start with all these hits that
Okay,
I couldn't leave off a top 10 list.
all right.
Time of the season.
Yes.
Um, you know, like we mentioned, the main instrument here is that Hammond organ, but the bass playing, we must salute Mr. White because that is very integral to all of these early zombie songs. She's Not There, my next one. This is
But
a bit
wait a
of
minute.
jazz.
Go backwards real quick because you mentioned, but think about this though. Time of the season, a phenomenal track. Do you realize that did not even, when it was released in the UK, it did not, it did not chart initially. It charted later in
It's
1998 at 43.
crazy.
It
Yeah,
was
makes no sense.
number 3 here in the States
Yeah,
in 1969. Now, this was recorded in 67. The whole Zombies catalog is just kind of jacked up. But how could this not chart in the UK? Now we hear it and go, it's an absolute stone cold classic. I hear it now and I don't turn it off.
I know. That's
How
got to
could
be
it not
very
be a hit?
That's got to be very frustrating as a band to record something and say that is a stone cold
It
hit
is stone cold.
single.
Yeah.
If I have ever heard one, and then the sound of crickets. Now you got to go back and write more material. That with these guys, they were not getting the payoff that you would
No.
imagine now looking at it in retrospect. Think about these guys continuing to knock out these fantastic songs that, for all intents and purposes, they're no brainers.
Well,
These
the thing
are top of
is,
the chart singles of that era, and didn't happen.
they're going in, they're going to record Odyssey, and they know that this is the last thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just
Let's
doing
go.
what, let's just do it.
Let's go.
And
And
it's
that
one of the greatest albums of 1967, one of the greatest albums of
the whole decade of the
the
60s
whole one of
and
them.
the rock
One of
and
them.
depending on where your sweet spot is, it's an all-timer.
one of the
But
greatest albums, at least in 1967. Anything in 66, 67, it's definitely in that.
mhm.
It's just, that's 67. You'll never have another year like 1967, folks.
No, that
So
was a
anyway,
pivotal. Well, but
classic.
that song is so iconic when it's opening. Boom, 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 boom. That
It's
cadence,
anthemic. It's a
that
psychedelic anthem.
that rhythm pattern that they create. Like I said, blue-eyed soul mixed with a bit of psychedelia. These guys were so unique. Um, I'll mention another single,
Go
"She's
ahead.
Not There,"
I've got it on
which
my
has
list.
has a bit of jazz flavoring here. Again, the nice driving bass line, uh, featuring a nice electric piano lead. All the hallmarks of these early zombie singles. They're hauntingly cool, I would call them.
I
There's a
mean,
little bit of a eerie vibe to them, but not in a scary way. It's just,
you listen to this track, and then, She's Not There really isn't that far off from Time of the Season.
mm-hmm.
There is a stylistic presence of the zombies, and it carries through. And I think the songwriting of this is just as good as Time of the Season.
Oh,
Um,
these singles are all top shelf.
yeah,
They're accessible, but there's so much going on there that is off the beaten
right.
path, but not in
Mhm.
a way that puts you off, at least to my ears.
But
A
but
third,
like but like I mentioned, DC, this was number 2 on the charts here in the States, hit number 12 in the UK, released in July of 64, came out here in 65 on the album The Zombies. Uh, but it's on the album Begin here in the UK. But I mean, 64, but they have so many great songs, but so little success.
I know. The next single I'll mention here is "Tell Her No,"
Yeah.
which I love. And this one steps outside that mold a bit, in that this song actually has got a bit of a swing to it. It's I won't call it purely upbeat, but it's got a bit of a swing to it. And I read where Argent said that this tune was influenced by Burt Bacharach and Hal
Oh,
David, which I didn't know, but now that I know it, it makes perfect sense,
you know
and I
what?
can hear it.
I can kind of
I
hear
can
that.
hear it. Um,
But
so,
well, I will mention that the album that I just mentioned, The Zombies from 1965, I believe that
mhm.
was on Parrot. I've got an original. Oh, there goes the thumbs up. I should have pulled it. Damn it, idiot. I've got an original mono copy of it.
How about you?
I do.
Maybe worth a dollar or two.
Maybe.
Well,
But
those are my
this,
first three. Do you want to?
no, I just say keep going because I'll
Okay,
add mine in because we're gonna, like
we're
we
going to
said,
overlap.
but I do
There's
want to say
nowhere.
that this was a single in the UK. It wasn't on an album. We've talked about this before, how the United States would take a lot of singles, like the Beatles. We'd make our own albums up, but we'd include the singles.
Mhm.
And same thing here. That Zombies record's kind of like a bastardized album of singles and album tracks from the UK.
Yeah,
But again, I mentioned that they have no UK success. This got number 42 in the UK, number 6 in the United States. So I could see,
there's a humongous differences between the general tastes of the public. And then you could kind of see at that time period why record companies, whether they were UK or their satellite company or vice versa in the States, would cobble together these albums differently.
yeah,
Like the US might say, well, we don't want to include that one song where they're talking about tea and crimpets. That ain't gonna
that's not
work
gonna
here.
make it.
That ain't gonna make it here in the States. So
Well,
there was more of that dickering around back then.
so far, DC, we are on track. So give me your next one. I'll see if it's on my list.
All right. From 65, again, written by Rod Argent, "Whenever You're Ready." And this single was considered a flop because it didn't even crack the Billboard Top 100 here in the States. That's not the way I see it. to me, this is the most straightforward pop song of the four that I've mentioned so far. A bit of jazz, R&B, but mostly it's a more of a pure pop song. And from what I understand and what we've been talking about here, the band was stunned when this one wasn't a hit. So I'm glad I'm in good company with them on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine the frustration. This one, along with the other ones, but this one is more purely pop. They thought they had a
100%.
no-brainer hit, and it tanked. I'm
100%.
wondering what in the hell do we got to do here? I mean,
Well, I would just, they primarily concentrated on the U.S. market.
yeah, I mean, go where you're getting some traction with these tunes. Thank
Exactly.
God we in the
Exactly.
States had the good taste to latch on to these guys, or we
Yes.
wouldn't have had all these great tunes.
No.
They would have just thrown in the towel.
Yeah, I didn't have that on my list, but so I guess I'll throw one out until we hit one.
Okay.
Um, this was my number 10. I'm throwing out the track "You Make Me Feel Good," which was this is wasn't on a studio album. It was the B side to "She's Not There."
Oh,
And
well,
I
no, I
think,
hadn't, I don't have not heard that one.
well, it's on here.
Well,
I have to just mention how great this box set is. It's
well,
all here, ladies and gentlemen.
well, DC's going to be digging into his wallet with a moth or two coming out there, and I'll spend some money on that if I can find it.
You like "She's Not There." I can guarantee it. You will like "You Make Me Feel Good."
Oh,
Like I
okay.
said, is the B side written by Chris White. I mean, it's lively, it's upbeat, it throws like a counterpoint to the side A, infectious. I think it's probably one of those tracks, at least what I've read about. It's a fan favorite and it's always on comps
Okay.
because I think it could have been a single. As
Hmm.
far as I'm concerned, it's as strong as a single.
Not,
So
I didn't pull my greatest hits of the
okay,
zombies. That's in another section. That one
it's
might be on there that
it's
I
probably
somehow
on there.
overlooked.
So
Okay,
it's every bit as good.
I'm gonna track that down after the show here.
All right. Well, okay. What's your next one? Give me something
Okay.
else.
From Odyssey and Oracle, I'm gonna
Okay.
pick Care of Cell 44. This was the lead single from that album. I pick up a Beach Boys influence here with the background vocals.
And the Mellotron.
Yeah. And there's a very McCartney-like bass throughout the sunny song about being released from prison.
That
And
DC I had.
predated that Tie a Yellow Ribbon song by a
Yes.
few years.
Hmm. I had this as my
Again,
number one.
okay, yeah, it's a
I
great tune.
think it's a masterpiece. You do
Yeah.
have that Beach Boys influence because that middle eight part's got that vocal harmony thing. That is something off Beach Boys Smile. That could be something right on Pet Sounds. Absolutely stunning. You can tell that these guys were listening to the Beach Boys. You can tell they were influenced by it. You've
Oh
also got
yeah.
that Mellotron on here that is very predominant on this track. It's
Yeah.
exquisite. It's
Uh,
it's just
Again,
exquisite.
this was released as a signal, was not a hit, which
Jesus Christ.
which has stymied the band once again.
Mhm.
And it, like you said, in retrospect, this is considered one of their all-time classics.
It's beautiful.
What the? That is a big old what the moment.
Well, the other thing I want to mention is don't forget this whole album was recorded at Abbey Road.
Mhm.
It's just the production. Oh, it's a beautiful record. It's a
Mhm.
beautiful sounding record. That's all I'm going to say.
Everything is beautiful about it, even the cover art graphics.
It's the cover art's fabulous. Which one is that? Show me the back. I don't know which one that is. Rhino, I think, was like one of the first companies to reissue that back in the day.
Yeah,
That's the original one I had.
I've got my little post-it note over the top of a lot of this information. Big beat.
Need bait. Okay, well, big beat.
I here's a fun fact for you. Just about every CD in my collection has a little post-it note that lists all the numbers of the tracks and my ratings for those.
Look at
It
you.
comes in handy sometimes.
Well, being that you're an influencer and as many productions that
That's
you
right.
are
I'm
on,
involved in it. Makes
I
my
mean,
life so
you're a
much
damn
more fluid.
superstar for crying out loud. So, of course. So,
So
yeah, wonderful track.
we've gone through five, and we've got five more here.
Well, give me another one. See
All
if it's
right,
on my list.
let's zoom ahead to the band's fourth album, and this one was from 2004, and
Oh, I don't have any of those on there.
I mentioned this. It's this a one here, folks. Very, very good album. My second favorite Zombies album. Um, and it's the track "In My Mind, a Miracle." And I think Colin also recorded this song on one of his solo albums. But who would have thunk, lo, these many years later? This is 2004, folks.
Mhm.
They could come up with such a gem. This won't be the only pick from that album on my top 10. This sounds like the Zombies, but updated a bit for the times. A real showcase for Colin's soulful vocals, as always. And the tracks are a bit longer as we move into these later albums,
Mhm.
letting the band stretch out a bit because these early zombie tunes, some of them are just barely over 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
Get in, get out, and make your statement and top shelf all the way.
Yeah, you should see like the first the first CD on here. It's just jam packed, but this you said the tracks are 2 minutes 50 seconds.
Yeah, that was the era. You know, there wasn't any of these long drawn out pop tunes.
Yeah,
Everything was wrapped up in a tidy little bundle quickly.
100%.
All right.
Well, I have
Um,
not heard that, so I can't comment on it.
all right.
Let me throw something out there. We did, all right, we did She's Not There. Tell Her No.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We have not done, we did Time of the Season.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to throw out another one. This
All
is
right.
also off of Odyssey and Oracle, 1968. Maybe After He's Gone. Wasn't a single, didn't
Mm-hmm.
chart. Written by Chris White. You notice how much Chris White, very prolific.
Yeah,
Uh,
and you two being bass players, there's a connection there, I think. We've got two of his tunes
but this
listed.
DC, this
I
is
don't doubt it's great. I'm just saying.
poignant ballad. It's lush. You've got beautiful harmonies, orchestral flourishes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if that's the Mellotron or they really, because I forget the story on that. They only had a budget for so much, but it's still. I will just say orchestral flourishes. It's slipping my mind whether it was Mellotron, but I think it's one of those deeply moving tracks that is on this record. One of the great tracks. This whole record though, it's hard to really pick out anything because it is a classic, like we said. But
Oh yeah.
this is one of the great tracks as far as I'm concerned. So I wanted to list that.
Awesome. I'm gonna give that another listen. I've got one here. They did an album where Russ Ballard wrote just about all the tunes on the album. And this
Um,
one's called "I Don't Believe in Miracles,"
okay.
and I think Colin also not only recorded this as a Zombies tune, but another tune where he also recorded it as a solo artist.
Mhm.
Again, fantastic vocal performance, and it just has to make my top 10. It's my favorite tune off of that album, and it's from the aforementioned album.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
I guess it's on there.
Russ Ballard written
And then
tune.
Russ has that connection to Argent.
Yeah,
You a fan of Argent?
honestly, other than "Hold Your Head Up" and whatever the B side was on that
There's some
single,
phen-
I've never bought any of those Argent albums.
there's some phenomenal stuff on those Argent albums.
Well, I was just thinking that when I started to consider that Rod Argent had a whole other part of his career with that band and
Mhm.
how little I know about it, I'm thinking there got to be a ton of gems there for me to discover. Just so much music.
They make a
Ah,
well, you know those classic album series things where there's 5 albums?
hmm.
They have an Argent one. That's
Oh,
the way
okay.
to do it.
Oh, yeah. Because if it's very reasonably priced, and then you get it all, and then you could just decide what's what. And you're not making a tremendous investment for 5 CDs, so it's worth your while.
Yeah.
We were talking about how much all these tunes are very much keyboard driven, but my next pick, it's called Together. It's one of the few Zombies tunes that features guitar over keys, and it's an acoustic guitar at that. A lot of great picking here on that one. I would call this song a bossa nova. And it's a nice groove and a real departure for the band. I dig it. It's different than anything they did in their whole career. So for me, that accounts for something.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. How
Yeah.
about this track? I have to keep putting stuff out from Odyssey because it's so phenomenal. How
Hmm.
about the track This Will Be Our Year? The breathy vocals. Oh my God. This was
I have that tune as an outlier from my top 10, but
okay.
that was right up there as well.
Now, in some countries, this when this was released, this was a B-side. Not
Okay.
usually considered a single, but I listened to it and it sounds like a single to me. Another Chris White song. What is this with Chris White and me? I
You
keep
guys have
picking
a
all these,
connection.
and it's not on purpose. I just look at oh, it's a
No,
Chris White song. Oh, it's
it
another
is
Chris White
it
song.
is what it is. And isn't that funny that certain writers, their approach to songwriting or putting a song together resonates with your ears so
Mhm.
much because you would think, and not to say that you wouldn't have any of his tunes, because it sounds like he wrote more than I realized, because I thought Rod
Yeah.
Argent wrote just
No,
about everything, but he's right
very
in there with
prolific.
them. Yeah.
But it's got warm, it's got brass, it's got very heartfelt lyrics. It's just, well, when you hear the vocals and the way the vocals are so well done,
Hmm.
I just pulls me in. I think it's just one of the standout tracks on Odyssey. And I think it could have been a single. Maybe I could be,
Yeah, I
maybe
do
I'm full
too.
of crap.
No, you're not. I have it listed here, and it's
Okay.
right up there with their best of the best.
All right. There you
Um,
go. That's my, one of my picks.
okay. We're down to my last two here, but
All
next
right.
we have a song called Memphis. And it's the fourth song in my top 10 from this album.
Man, you'd like that
I
album.
love it. I
You
mean,
love it.
my, if you could zoom in there on my
10
post-it
plus.
note, it's a 10 plus. I mean, I was floored because I didn't expect the Zombies in 2004 to be able to come up with an album like this, but it's tremendous.
All right.
Um, this song clocks in at over 5 minutes, and it features strings, and it's all you would expect from Blundstone vocally. Just a great melody. Like I mentioned before, these later albums, they they're longer tunes and lets the
Mhm.
band stretch out a bit, and you know it's of the times. I mean, they're not doing and approaching things the same way they did back in the day. Modernized their approach quite a bit. So, why not make it five? This album, like I
Jesus.
say, I love it.
Okay.
There's a
All
song called "Look for a Better Way." Again, this is clocks in at over 5 minutes. I think if they edited this down a bit, this could have been a latter day single for the band.
right.
But again, 2004, who's going to be receptive to a new single by the Zombies? It's one going to happen.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
You know,
Um,
it's lush, everything that you want in a Zombies tune. Like I said, strings, but background vocals, the
mhm.
dreamy soundscape. And again, I could see this being a hit, maybe more suited for the adult contemporary charts. But even then, you know, 2004, the Zombies,
Mhm.
not going to get any ground
No,
the way the music biz is.
no, no. Well, the thing is, by doing this show, hopefully we can turn some people onto it, and people may want to go out and check that any of this catalog out. That's the whole goal.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
yeah.
for us to shine a light on these artists that maybe aren't front and center, they made an impact, but they certainly
Yes.
aren't the Stones or, and the Who. These
Mhm.
bands from the '60s that left such an imprint into my musical heart. I love so much of their music.
Right.
I'm more than glad to shine a light on them here in 2025 to someone who may have had a passing interest, knows a couple of the hits, maybe to explore their catalog a little bit more. You
Mhm.
may be turned on to some stuff that you can't believe you've been missing out on
No.
low these many
Yep.
years. So,
All right. Well, let me throw out another track.
all right.
It's going to be from Odyssey and Oracle. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Beechwood Park. Not a
Okay.
single. Ba- It's wistful, serene. It's got a nice, beautiful melody, poetic lyrics. It's one of the whole goddamn album's great, but I do like Beechwood Park. I like the whole thing.
Hmm.
But if I'm going to put these out, or these are my favorite, this is one of my favorite tracks. I
Okay.
think it's wonderful.
Yeah, I've
So,
got another track from that album that I had in my
all right.
just out of the top 10 and friends of mine. But like you
Mm,
say, the whole album is just tremendous.
right.
And folks, do yourself a favor and look, just play it on your streaming service or even on YouTube and give it a listen. I think it'll be worth your while.
Yeah. Let me throw out another one. Do you have the comp Time of the Zombies that came out in 1974? I believe that came out on, was it Sire?
No, I don't.
Or was it on Epic? I can't remember, but it's kind of the Mannequin cover. I'll throw the picture up. Well, the song Smoky Day was not on a studio album. This is like one of those tracks that were off the Lost album.
Mhm.
So this has like tracks from that. This is one of those. It's it's just absolutely a beautiful track. It's kind of eerie. I
Mhm.
it, I don't think it would fit on Odyssey. Doesn't quite fit that. It's a different animal. You can see that the zombies were growing. And again, it slips my mind. Someone in the chat probably can bring that up. What happened with these lost tracks? Because I think these were recorded after. I'm pretty sure these were recorded after Odyssey, but it might have just been Argent and Chris White. Please correct me if I'm wrong, someone, but for all intents and purposes, it's the Zombies because it sounds like the Zombies. It sounds like Abbey Road Studios. It kind of has that production sound, but
Mhm.
just absolutely beautiful. And it's on this. I have nothing to do with this, but it's a stunning track.
I'm going to have to track that down for sure.
Yeah, you're gonna have to spend some money, DC.
These are
So
these
I
are
wanted
two
to
of the
mention,
latter period ones. This one is a little better than their latest one or
okay,
last one,
all right.
but there's good stuff on both of them.
Yeah, I haven't heard those. But check out Smoky Day. It's on that comp Time of the Zombies. It came out in 1974, but it's also on Zombie Heaven. So, what else you got?
That's it, man.
Okay, I got one more.
Okay.
This would be my number two, I think. Yes, this is it. Butcher's Tale.
Hmm.
Western Front 1914. Very haunting anti-war song penned by Chris White. Uses a pump organ. It's got that pump organ on it,
Yeah.
and it sounds kind of retro, unsettling. Actually, the Butcher's Tale kind of fits in well with Smoky Day when I kind of listen to it.
Hmm.
Very distinct track, but it's very creative. It's very 1967. It kind of reminds me of Pretty Things. uh, their album from 1968, the concept album SF Sorrow. Have you heard that? Do you know
I've
that
heard of
record?
it, but I'm not
Oh
familiar
my
with it.
God.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have Tommy if we didn't have FF Sorrow.
Hmm.
Do yourself a favor. You won't regret it.
Okay.
It's fabulous. Do you have any pretty things at all?
No, I do not.
Oh, geez.
That's just one of those groups that
You got to go down that road. I'm
my
sorry.
peers or whatever was not in our on our wave
Well,
length.
pretty things weren't all that big here,
Right.
you know?
I remember seeing plenty of ads in music magazines for their latter material in the 70s.
Yeah.
The one with the gal with the torpedo.
Uh, mhm. That's a
That
later one.
that that ad was always in Cream or Circus or whatever. But yeah, so there's just so much music, and it's just like
Oh, I
I'll
know. But
never be.
this is why we do these shows, DC, to turn each other on to stuff and turn
Yeah.
everybody else on so they all spend money. That's
Yes.
the whole goal.
We can keep this industry afloat. The
Maybe.
warehouse.
We're getting close. But anyway, another Odyssey Oracle track. I'm just saying, Butcher's Tale, phenomenal. Whole record's phenomenal. All of it. This is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Even this has a whole fourth disc, like I mentioned, live from the BBC where they're playing, you know,
Hmm.
they were such a good band. Good band.
Oh yeah. When we're talking about keyboard fronted bands of this era, I was racking my brain trying to figure out what other groups in that era were more keyboard centric.
Hmm.
And all I could come up with was the Doors are much more keyboard centric
Oh,
than guitar
100%.
centric.
This
And
would be,
maybe Vanilla Fudge might be
oh,
more
yeah.
key centric than guitar
I
centric.
think this is more along the lines of the Doors, I would
Oh
say,
sure.
probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Rod Argent, great. I mean, the keyboard's just phenomenal. And then I was just going to say that third disc has all studio outtakes, and
Hmm.
there's some funny stuff on here where they're calling out stuff. Hey, Rod, what about this? We need to play something like that. He just whips out stuff.
Uh-huh.
True talent. But it's fun to hear him in the studio. So it's just a great collection. If you
Sure.
can pick it up. Or stream it. I don't know if it's available. I don't stream, so I don't know.
I'm sure those guys love the fact that there is a recorded um, remembrance of their time in the studio, and they can kind of, along with what they
Yeah.
remember, listen to themselves, their younger selves, and how they interacted in the studio and
You know,
put these
considering
songs together.
and considering the zombies really didn't sell very much, I'm just surprised that stuff still was around.
Yeah, that usually if there's not anybody in the group that's an archivist
Mhm.
or is like clipping articles or photos and keeping track of that stuff.
Uh,
It's just lost to the ages. But
yeah.
apparently somebody with the band, made sure they hung on to this stuff.
Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we can wrap this dog up.
There
There
you
you
go.
go. Go check out some zombies.
Do it, folks. If
Do
you
it.
like the singles, there's more treasures to be found in the catalog for sure.
Exactly. And if you haven't subscribed to the Warehouse, please do yourself a favor and do that. There's more content coming up. We just hit 8,000 subs and we turned 3 years old last month. So
Mhm.
I'm pretty happy with that. It's
Quite
more than I ever
incredible.
thought.
Wow, it's incredible. 8,000 subscribers.
Mhm.
We're a special breed of people, folks. There's not a whole, you can't go to your next door neighbor, Larry or Ed, and just start talking about stuff like this.
Probably not.
No, not.
We have
They're not
everybody
passionate
watching.
about it the way we are, you know.
All right, everybody. DC will be back. I'm not sure what we have up next, but I'm sure
There'll be something.
there'll be something. So keep it clean. We'll see you later. DC, thanks again.
Thank you, Grant.
And we will be back for more. Have a good, wow, it's Thursday. I'm trying to get this out ASAP. So everybody have a good week. Have a good weekend. We'll see you.